It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
All right, here's one from our friend Charles.
Oh, Charlie. All
and
right.
okay, he addressed it to me.
Oh,
and so I am
okay,
going
good.
to answer it to some degree, but I'd be interested to hear what you might say
right.
to expound. He said, hey, Rebecca, can you share what your parents' financial influence was? That is, were they knowledgeable, open, etc., or was money a taboo subject?
I love it. That's
That
a
is
great
actually
question.
a fantastic question, and I actually do credit my parents to giving me the foundation that I did, because like I said, there were a lot of things I didn't totally know. Like, I didn't really understand investing, didn't realize the power of compounding interest, didn't really think about saving for retirement because I was 22, you know. But to my parents' credit, they were very responsible with their money. Like, they did pretty well for themselves, but then they were able to maintain it because, like, we didn't go on all the expensive vacations. We shopped off the sale rack. They have a lovely house, actually, but like, it wasn't the biggest house that they could have afforded and that kind of thing. And so I do credit them for, like, if you're talking about young kids and like when I was young and being influenced, that they said no to some things.
Oh, that's great.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, could they have bought me a really nice car? They probably could have.
Yeah.
But like,
they
they
didn't. Yeah.
You know, like, I had to have some skin in the game on a lot of different things and still like had jobs and funded a lot of my own college fund and that kind of thing. And I think that was really valuable. So.
Were they open with you? So it sounds like, were they open? Did y'all talk about finances, or was like money a taboo subject?
No, we did. And I mean, actually, I love seeing what you're doing with your oldest Barrett, because my parents did something similar of like, I had the bank of like, okay, here's how much you're gonna, like, if you get a birthday, $10 for your birthday, something, okay, how much are you gonna save? How much are you going to spend? How much are you going to give and be generous with? Like, I had a little bank like that and like had to save up for an American Girl doll. I don't even know if those are like the thing anymore, but that was the thing. And so like, I could see you doing that with Barrett. Like, oh, she really wants this thing. Like, okay, honey,
you got to pay for it.
Save up $84. I remember it was at the time, and it was a big deal when I was 10.
I love it.
But I think it did do something to me that like, we were talking about it and I had to even experience it for myself and like wait the deferred gratification thing, put my $3 in towards the $84, and they get the payoff of getting the doll shipped in the mail and just that kind of thing. I will give my parents like great credit. And then there was some Dave Ramsey in the ethos, if you will, growing up. And wow, I think that there's more. Like, glad I found you guys, because I think that you're like the next level. But like, just the stat that 60% of Americans can't come up with $1,000.
It's
terrifying. And so the whole like envelope system and get out of debt, like, I'm glad that I was introduced to that, because it did make me treat debt as a chainsaw, as you guys say. Like, sometimes you do need to take out a student loan, but like, you better know exactly what you're doing. And so yeah, that was really useful.
Yeah, I'm going to answer the question, Charles, from the parental standpoint, because my upbringing was very different. So I came from very, very humble beginnings, and I actually had 3 separate sets of interactions early on in my life. I was born with biological parents who were awful with money, and I mean almost destitute poverty, foreclosed homes, foreclosed houses, disconnected utilities, that type of environment. So I could see very clear early on in life the negatives associated with very poor financial management, right? So I saw that. Well, then I lived with my grandparents for an extended time, and my grandpa, he worked like 3 jobs for his whole career, was like so tight. I still remember when I would go to baseball games, and we'd have like a doubleheader, and he'd be like, hey, Bo, let me get you a hot dog and a Gatorade, right? Because that's what he always get me. And he'd hand me 2 $1 bills. And I'm like, Grandpa, hot dog is like $2.50. But you know, he was just so tight. And so I learned the value of frugality from my grandfather. Well, then I was adopted later in life, and I actually lived with this wonderful family who I still consider my parents today. And they taught me about personal responsibility. Hey, Susie, Carol, I want to go to the movies this weekend. They're like, great. How you gonna pay for it? I was like, they taught me that, like, if we wanted to do it, if we wanted to go get clothes, if we wanted to go out to eat. And here's the thing, they were, she was a nurse and he was a firefighter, and so they did, fairly well. And but they're like, no, look, if you want to do things, you can save your money and you can go do it. So I learned that very early on. And I think because of those experiences and interactions, it framed the way that I approach finances and the way that I approach financial management. Here's my biggest fear with my kids. Lord willing, the childhood that I grew up in is probably not going to be what they see. They're going to, we've had a lot of awesome and fun and exciting success here at the firm. And so their childhood will probably look a lot different than my childhood.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I want to make sure is those values that were instilled in me, the thing that made me who I am from a financial perspective, I want to make sure I'm driving that home with them. And I think you are a great example of your parents saying, yeah, I could buy the nice car. We're not going to. Yeah, we could buy the fancy house. We're not going to. And having that conversation with them around what does prudent financial management look like? That's one of the things that I'm really trying to emphasize early on. Even with silly stuff like this is like near and dear because it's just happened yesterday. My 3-year-old has this little paintbrush or whatever, and she just looked at me and just snapped it. And just because that's what she does. And I lost it. And so, and I was like, okay, hey, we got to pick it up. We got to throw it in the trash. And now I don't get to paint anymore. Mm-hmm. And I've got to fight my wife on this, but I'm not going to buy her another paintbrush. I'm going to teach her that you broke the, and so even though we have the means to go replace that paintbrush, I want her to kind of learn that sort of thing. I hope that as they turn 8, 9, 12, 15, 18, that we can continue to instill that in them. But we're going to have to try a little bit harder, I think.
I think you just have to have the conversation.
Yep.
Like, I feel like that's something my parents did really well in a lot of areas of life. And so I feel like my advice to parents is always like, just talk about it. Even if you think they're rolling your eyes, like, I know, Dad, save money. But they're hearing you. Mm-hmm. If it's a taboo subject or you just assume that they know, then they probably won't know. Mm-hmm. So I love that you guys are having the conversation. Absolutely. And that's what I would encourage you to do too if you're watching.